My name is Schneier, and I come to you from St. Louis, and I'm really excited to be here with all of you today. I am a chastity speaker. I go around the United States and I give talks about the meaning of love and life. I'm a former high school teacher. I used to teach in a school just like with teens like you. I've always had a passion and a heart for teens. I've always loved teens. But I have found now, traveling across the United States, being back in schools, that I actually love talking about love and life and the meaning of love and the meaning of life far more than I ever did when I was a foreign language high school teacher, conjugating verbs and all that kind of stuff Monday through Friday in the classroom. Because I found that actually, if you get it, the real meaning of love and life, it can bring you the greatest joy and the greatest happiness in your life. But if you distort it, twist it, or settle for a counterfeit, it can cause you some of the most painful and cause pain and misery and suffering in your life. And so I wanted to help teens discover the true meaning of love and how they can have it in their life and not settle for all the counterfeits that are out there that are causing so much pain and misery and suffering. So today, I just want to give you 4 words. 4 words that I hope you will take from this assembly today with you throughout your journey and in your relationships and in your future and possibly your future marriages and in discovering your vocation so that you will know what the real thing is. And everything I say is really just based on the final words of Christ that he gave to his disciples on the night of the Last Supper. The final words he wanted to say to them. And if you think about it, if you've been with someone for all those years, your closest friends, you've gathered together, you know it's your last time together, what he said was something very important. He wanted to summarize everything, and he said this: I give you a new command. Love one another as I have loved you. That's what we're called to do. Love one another as Christ has loved us. And he exemplified it for us perfectly on the cross. That's how he loved us. And I remember asking, well, how? How are we called to do that? And how are we called to do that, especially in that intimate union between husband and wife, that sexual union that causes so much confusion in the world that people call love? How are we supposed to really love and experience the real thing in and through our bodies? How can we do that? What does that have to do with Christ, and what does that have to do with us? So the 4 words that I found out how Christ exemplifies real love to us are free, faithful, total, and fruitful. These are the words that Pope John Paul II also taught in his Theology of the Body, if any of you have had that in any of your classes. Free, faithful, total, and fruitful. I'm going to go through those 4 words with you. I'm going to show how Christ exemplified the real thing, and then how we're called to love one another as he loved us, how we can experience real love in and through our bodies, what the counterfeits are, and what that means for you, okay? Also, I want you to note that anytime we twist the meaning of love, it will automatically lead to a twisted, distorted meaning of life. They are connected. And in our culture, where we've had over 50-something million abortions in this country, we need to ask ourselves, where did all those aborted babies come from? They came from unions that were either not free, not faithful, not total, or not fruitful. Something was missing, something was distorted. When you distort the meaning of love, it will directly lead, unfortunately, sadly, tragically, to the distortion of life itself. And that's the mess that we're in right now. So here we go, the 4 words. The first word, free. I want all of you to just think about Christ on the cross right now. I keep pointing to that crucifix up there, but just visualize Christ on the cross, hanging there for you. You know, he could have come down from the cross, right? He was God. He could have come down in an instant, but he didn't. He freely chose to stay on the cross to give himself for you and for me, right? We don't earn his love. We don't deserve it. We can't do anything to earn this. He just freely gives of himself. And notice what Christ said. I am the good shepherd. I lay down my life for my sheep. No one takes it from me. I lay it down on my own. His love on the cross was a freely given gift, right? There was no pressure to do anything, no coercion. He freely chose to give. That's the real thing. That's real love. What are the distortions that are out there? Well, I like to start with one that's very easy to recognize. Take the instance of rape. Is rape sex? Yes, it is. Is it love? No, it is not. And it never can be. And everyone agrees that rape is wrong. But why? Why is rape horrific? Why is rape wrong? Well, because it violates the very first aspect of love, and that love must be a freely given gift. Well, rape is sex that is forced. It is taken. It was not a freely given gift. So that's why it's wrong. It can never be the real thing. And notice, it causes pain and misery and suffering because it was never intended in the first place. But you must know that rape is not the only counterfeit that is out there. Any pressure whatsoever to engage in any sexual activity is a counterfeit. It can never be the real thing. And all of you probably will face this pressure. Guys, you may face it from other guys saying, you know, why aren't you having sex with your girlfriend? You may face it from your boyfriend. There's pressure on so many levels to engage in sexual activity. If there's any grasping, if there's any manipulation, if there's any coercion whatsoever, it's never the real thing. It can't be love. It can't be. Because the first aspect is that love must be a freely given gift. Okay? Second word, faithful. Let's look to Christ on the cross. Christ on the cross. Did he love us just for 6 weeks? Did he love us just for 3 months? Did he love us till somebody better came along? No. He loved us until death, right? Every last drop of blood for you and for me. And notice his very last words in Matthew's gospel, behold, I am with you always until the end of the age. And we as Catholics believe that he's still with us, right, in the Eucharist. He never leaves us. He never abandons us. He loved us until death and beyond, because real love never dies, right? It is faithful love. Well, the real thing, how can we communicate that with our bodies? The real thing says, I want to be a gift to you. I freely give myself to you. That's the first aspect. Then it says, I love you in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. What do those sound like? Marriage vows, exactly. Those are the marriage vows, because the real thing is where you communicate with your body the words of the marriage vows. They take on flesh. You know, I've been married to my husband now for 25 years, but we didn't just say those wedding vows one day at the altar. Every time I'm called to love my husband and give my body to my husband, I speak those words with my mouth and I speak those words with my body. And every time my husband loves me, he speaks those words with his mouth, but he speaks those words with his body. It's where we renew our marriage vows. That's the real thing, where it is a renewal of marriage vows. And the difference between sex that is a renewal of marriage vows or the momentary pleasure of an orgasm is the difference between the depth, the beauty, the power, the passion of the ocean compared to playing in a 2-inch mud puddle covered in scum. That's the difference between the two. And just think about you someday as a future husband or wife of how strong, what kind of a marriage do you want someday? And how strong would your marriage be if every single time you came together in that marital embrace, if it were a renewal of marriage vows? Who wouldn't want that? Because that's the real thing. Counterfeits that are out there. Let's start with one again that I think you can recognize. Adultery, having an affair. Is it sex? Yes, it is. Is it the real thing? Can it ever be the real thing? No, it can't. Why? Well, if I'm saying to my husband, I love you and only you till death do us part, and cheating on him and sleeping with somebody else, then that sex and this sex is a lie. It's a lie. I'm not saying I'm true to you and only you till death do us part if I'm sleeping with somebody else. Real love must be faithful. There's permanence there. There's a commitment there. There's a covenant there. A covenant. You see, because you were never, ever, ever meant to be used and discarded. Used and discarded. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is being used. It's being used. You were meant for a one-flesh union with one person for life. That's the real thing. That's the real thing. But again, is having an affair, adultery, the only counterfeit that is out there? No, not at all. This is where I hope you can see that any sex outside of marriage cannot be the real thing. There are no marriage vows to renew. That guy, that girl can walk away tomorrow. There's no covenant there. There's no permanence there. There are no marriage vows to renew. That sex is a lie. It's a lie. And how does it lead to the culture of death? How does it lead to distortion? Well, very easy. About the meaning of life, too. You know, if a child is conceived in a union where there is no permanence of marriage, where there is no covenant, where there is no commitment, and again, that guy, that girl can walk away tomorrow, and in most cases, most couples break up within 3, 4, 5 weeks after that couple having sex. But let's say a child is conceived. Will that child, in the mind of that person, be regarded as this beautiful gift and reminder of their everlasting love if the guy's already gone? Unfortunately, what happens is that child becomes a burden that she alone must bear. You see, that's how it leads directly to abortion and the culture of death. Because there was no permanence, there was no commitment, there was no marriage there. That's how it leads to that pain and misery and suffering. But again, sex outside of marriage, this is where, what are you going to face? So many people. It's the biggest, most important decision that you will make with your body. Will you or will you not have sex outside of marriage? If you do, it's a lie. It can never be the real thing. It can never communicate the truth of love. Many people think, well, what about living together before marriage? What if you're engaged? And you'll all face this. Everyone says, oh, come on, it's cheaper. Save on rent. We'll move in together. We'll try it out. We'll see if it works. We're going to get married anyway. We're engaged. Well, here's what I would say to any engaged couple. To the gentleman, if you want to move in with your girlfriend, I would say, you know what? You know one thing about your fiancé. She's willing to have sex with somebody that she's not married to. And girls, I would say to you, you know one thing about your fiancé. He's willing to have sex with somebody that he's not married to. How do you know that's going to change after the wedding? How do you know? You don't. You don't. The single most important decision you're going to make for your future vocation and what kind of a person you want to be and what kind of a future husband or wife is will you or will you not have sex outside of marriage? The single most important decision you'll make with your body. And it's crucial. It is crucial. Now, here's what I want to visualize. I want to tell you a little story here. This is important. Guys, take notice because you're going to do this someday, possibly. And any of the teachers that are here that are married that can remember exactly how and when you proposed to your bride or to your spouse, okay? Girls, I want to share with you the story about how I got my engagement ring. I had known my husband Larry since we were 14 years old. As a matter of fact, he was the first guy I met on the very first day of high school. And if you would have told me that this guy sitting behind me in geometry class was going to be my future husband, I would have said no way. Absolutely not. There is no way. But anyway, fast forward, 7 years later, we're dating, and a total surprise to me, Larry takes me down on the landing. I don't know if any of you have ever been to St. Louis, but underneath the arch, there's all these cobblestone streets, and it's all the nightclubs and the bars, and it's a night place. And we went down there for dinner, and then we went to a bar. And afterwards, he says to me, would you like to go on a carriage ride? For the tourists, they have those horse-drawn carriages that go all along the cobblestone streets. It's kind of really, very romantic. But I'm born and raised in St. Louis. I've never been on a carriage ride in my life. And he says, you want to go on a carriage ride? I'm just like, oh, yes, I would love to go on a carriage ride. So we're on a white horse-drawn carriage. And in the middle of this carriage ride, he totally surprises me and whips out this ring and says to me, you know, I love you. Will you marry me? Will you be my wife? And I about die. I jump up in the carriage and go, oh my gosh, I'm announcing to everybody on the street, he just proposed! He just proposed! And the carriage driver's going, oh yeah, that's what they all say. You know, I'm thinking I'm the only girl on the face of the earth that's ever gotten a proposal on a carriage ride, and this guy's had 6 every Friday night, you know? But anyway, here's the deal. So I remember I remember every moment of that. I can tell you what day it was. I can tell you what time it was, where we were when he proposed to me and gave me this ring. Now, here's what I want to ask you. Guys, watch the girls here for 1 second. Just watch the reaction. Ladies, I'm just going to pick on somebody. You get to be it. All right, imagine this. Just imagine this. The man of your dreams, Mr. Prince Charming. He gets down on one knee, and he is surprising you, and he gets out this ring. And what's your name? Rachel. And he says, Rachel, I love you so much. You are so beautiful. Will you be my wife? Oh, by the way, this is the ring that I gave to my ex-girlfriend. Notice the reaction. All right, hold on. This is important. Watch out. Rachel, here's the question. Rachel, do you want the ring? Not really. I had one girl say, I would slap him, right? Do any of you girls want the ring that was given to his ex-girlfriend? No. They all say no. Gentlemen, take note. Do not give the future bride the ring that was given to the ex-girlfriend. She doesn't want it. She doesn't want it. There's not a girl. I asked this question. Shh. All right. I asked this question all across the United States, and I have yet to find any girl who wants the ring. Well, maybe he would say, oh, come on. It's just secondhand. It's just slightly used. Do you want the ring? No. It sounds worse. She says it sounds worse. Okay. This is the important part, and I want everybody to listen up very carefully right here, right now, because this is what we have to think about. Do you not realize, ladies, do you not realize, gentlemen, that the gift of yourself, the gift of your body, is worth far more than any diamond ring that money could buy? Do you, on your wedding night, want to be secondhand, slightly used, already been given to an ex? You see, we put so much emphasis on the ring. The ring can be lost, can be replaced, and you wouldn't even want a ring that was given to his ex-girlfriend. But don't you realize that you are far more precious than any diamond ring? The gift of yourself. That on your wedding night, that you would save yourself for that one person. Guys, there is a girl out there that is hoping and praying that you will save yourself just for her. And there is a guy out there that is hoping and praying that you will save yourself just for him. So that on your wedding night, you will not be secondhand, slightly used, already been given to an ex. You're worth far more than a ring. Any ring that money could buy. You're far more precious. Now, my own story. I will tell you this up front. I was a virgin when I got married. So was my husband. So right now you're probably thinking, well, lady, you are really old and very old-fashioned, because nobody is nowadays. And you're right. I know that a lot of things have changed, times have changed. But I will tell you this, even in my own world, by the time that I was 21 years old, everyone that I knew in my world had already had sex before marriage. My best friends, people in my family, my high school friends, my college friends. And I thought that I must be the last virgin on the face of the earth. Now, when I was in college, I went away and lived in Germany. I told you I was a foreign language teacher. I lived in Europe, and I met people from all over the world, and I learned that they had very, very different values from my Midwestern Catholic upbringing. And when I was living in Germany, we would go out on Friday nights and go dancing and go to the nightclubs and practice our German and meet people, and it was a lot of fun. And my roommate, she was from Sweden, and she was knockout gorgeous, okay? And every night we would go out dancing, and she would come home with a different guy, and she would sleep with him, and we'd wake up in the morning, and there she'd be and some guy on the floor. And one night I just kind of looked at her, and I'm like, how can you do that? And she looked at me, again, totally different mindset, and she looked at me and said, how can you not? How can you even consider being serious with your boyfriend and not sleeping with him? She said, you've had sex with your boyfriend, haven't you? And I was too embarrassed, and so I lied. And I said, oh yeah, of course, I've had sex with my boyfriend. Fast forward to the night that changed my life. I told you I'd met Larry when I was 14, and I was never, ever gonna date this guy, ever. But I'll tell you what, one night when we were 21, later on, a group of us were getting together from high school. Actually, the group was just 3 of us. Myself, Larry, and this is gonna sound really corny, and his best friend, Jerry. Larry and Jerry. So, okay, we go downtown, we're down at the landing, and I will say this, Jerry is a little, we'll just say, socially awkward, okay? And in the middle of having drinks at a nightclub with the band playing, here's what Jerry asked, because he knew I had been off to Europe, you know, come home, I'd seen the world, all this kind of stuff, and he says, in the middle of having drinks, and he talked like this, so, Patty, what do you think about premarital sex? And I'm like, what? You know, who asked that question in the middle of drinks on a Friday night? Really? I couldn't believe it. He says it again. So, Patty, what do you think about premarital sex? And remember, I thought I was the last virgin on the face of the earth, so I gave some bogus answer. I remember saying, well, you know, I guess if you really love the guy, I guess if you're going to get married, you know, everybody I knew had already had sex. So I thought, well, I guess it's okay if you really love the person. And here's what changed my life. I'm sitting across the table. Larry sets down his drink, puts it on the table, and he says, not me. I'm looking for an old-fashioned kind of girl. And I'm telling you what, my heart just started beating a little bit faster, and I'm thinking, who is this guy? This is Larry from high school? I knew in that moment right there that he was looking for the real thing, and he had the courage to say it. He wasn't looking for a one-night stand. He wasn't looking for that. He was a guy that had the courage to say what he really wanted, the real thing. And that voice inside of me said, that's me. I'm that old-fashioned kind of girl. We started going out that night. That's how we started dating each other, because all of a sudden I saw him in a new light. And I'll tell you what the #1 quality was. I respected him. I respected him. Why do I tell you this story? Because you need to find out. You need to know if the guy, if the girl you're dating shares your same values. And you need to find out early on. Otherwise, he or she is not worth your time. Now, don't ask it like Jerry did, okay, honestly. But you need to find out. You need to find out if that person shares your values. It's too crucial. It's very important. I am so glad that Jerry did ask that question. I'm so glad that Larry had the courage to answer it honestly. And I am so glad that I happened to be the girl sitting across from him from that table. By the way, Jerry became the best man in our wedding. So it was a great ending to a great story. But all right. All right, so those are the first 2 words. Free, freely given, total gift, right? A free gift of self. Faithful for life. Here's the third word. Total. Let's look to Christ on the cross. Think about Christ on the cross. Did he say, you can crucify me, just don't put those nails in my hands? Did he say, I'll take a crown of thorns, just don't put it on my head? Did he say you can nail, but just don't nail my feet? No. When Christ was crucified on that cross, it was his whole body, his entire self, every last drop of blood for you and for me. And notice, again, in the Eucharist, what does he say to us? This is my body given for you. Take it. You see, those are the words of love. This is my body given for you. Take it. And you see, we're called to love one another as I have loved you, so we can communicate the exact same thing in and through our bodies. This is my body given for you. Take it. But it's his whole self, every last drop of blood. He was completely there on that cross. You know, my husband, Larry, he gets my eyes, my ears, my nose, my mouth, my heart, my lungs. He gets my good days, my bad days, my crabby moods. He gets it all. He gets it all. Can you imagine? Okay, again, watch the reaction. I won't pick on you. I'll pick on somebody else. Can you imagine someone, the love of your life, Prince Charming, saying, I love you so much. I want to be a gift to you. I love you in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Can you imagine him saying, I'm going to give my body to you, but would you please, listen, would you please first go put a bag over your head, then come back and we'll have sex? Would you want to make love to that person? No. No. Can you imagine? All right. Settle down. Can you imagine someone coming up to you saying, I love you, I want to be a gift to you, but would you please go out and get a nose job first, then come back and we'll have sex? It wouldn't be, you know it in your gut. You're laughing because it's absurd. Because it wouldn't be a total gift of self. You know it in your gut. Someone comes up to you and says, put a bag over your head, then come back and we'll have sex. You know that. You know that. Why? That person's not accepting who you are. Or to go get a nose job. That person isn't accepting how you were made and the beauty and the uniqueness of who you are. And you know it in your gut that that's wrong. So, here's where I have to demonstrate. Sorry, and this is going to be a little bit awkward, but counterfeits that are out there. First, let me just show you in my own life. Excuse me for a second. I have flabby arms, okay? I have always been very self-conscious about my arms. I hate my arms, all right? Ever since I was 12 years old, and my dad, without meaning any harm whatsoever, says to me, oh, Patty, you have nice, soft, squishy arms like your mother. And I thought, I do not want nice, soft, squishy arms like my mother at all. So what have I been doing my entire life? I work out at 5:30 every morning, and I work it. I work it every single day. I'm telling you, I know every exercise for arms, okay? And I've got a muscle up here. I mean, I used to coach gymnastics, and I coached cheerleading. I can spot, I can lift, I can do the whole thing. I'm strong. I got muscle up here. But I still got this flab down here, and it just wiggles and jiggles, and I hate it. All right, I hate it. My eyes. I always wanted to be blonde with blue eyes. My eyes are a brownish, greenish, goldish, pukish color, okay? I have the color eyes of vomit. Now, I would love to be able to say to my husband, I want to be a gift to you. I want to give myself to you, but please don't touch my arms. Or I would love to say, I want to be a gift to you. I love you so much, but please don't look into my eyes. Again, we laugh. Why? Because it's absurd. Because we know in our gut. And I'm putting my jacket back on because I don't want you looking at my arms. We know in our gut that is absurd and that cannot be the real thing. Why? This is so important that you get this. Because that is not a total gift of self. It's not total. Real love must be total. It's got to be all or nothing. My husband loves my eyes, my ears, my nose, my flabby arms. I mean, I could go on and on. I got thunder thighs. I got a big fat porch. But you know what? All of us, there isn't a single person in this world, and I know it. Maybe some of you studs out there get up in the morning in the shower and go, yeah. But I don't think so. All right. Most of us, I say this, gentlemen, I say this because most of us have something about our bodies that we don't like. We do. We do. But we're made in the image and likeness of God. And the real thing in real love is a total gift of self. So the real thing is, this is my body given for you, take it. And I know that my husband knows every bit about me and loves even my flabby arms and my greenish, brownish, goldish, pukish color eyes, as only he can love me. That's the real thing. Counterfeits that are out there, this is why it's so important. All forms of contraception. Why? Because they can never be a total gift of self. Never. The pill, the patch, condoms, they all speak. They speak volumes. What does a condom say? A condom says, I will have sex with you, but not all of you. Leave that part out of me. What is the pill? What is the patch? What is it saying? It's saying, I'll have sex with you, but first, let's render your fertility null, void, no longer part of the package. Don't want that part. It's taking a part of you and twisting it and rendering it not part of the package. It can never be a total gift of self. Never. It's not the real thing. And how does this lead to a culture of death? Because a lot of people think that contraception is the answer. We need more of it to prevent abortions. But you have to know this. Over 60% reported by Planned Parenthood of abortions, 60% of their abortions are because the contraception failed. Failed. So what did that baby become in the minds of that couple? Oops, it was a mistake. The contraception failed. All throughout history, a child has always been regarded as the greatest blessing from God. In every single civilization, children are a blessing and a gift. How did we ever even get the mindset that a child could be a mistake? How did we get that vocabulary? How did we even think that thought for the very first time that a child could ever be a mistake? When we became a culture that accepted contraception. You see, that's when we started saying, oops, it was a mistake. It's how it leads directly to the culture of death. Directly. And it can never be a total gift of self. Never. Never. All right, think about this. I just want you to think about this right now. Someone may say to you, come on, let's have sex. That's pressure right there. Pressure, boom, red light, not the real thing, not a freely given gift. Then you may say, oh, come on, it's no big deal. Boom, violation number 2. There's no covenant there. There's no commitment there. There are no marriage vows. That sex doesn't mean anything to that guy or that girl. The person may say, oh, come on, I'll wear a condom. Violation number 3, not a total gift of self. You are 0 for 3. 0 for 3 for the real thing. Okay? 4th word. Here we go. 4th word. We got free, faithful, total. Are you with me so far? Free, faithful, total. Here's the last word, fruitful. Look to Christ on the cross real quick. He said, I came that you may have life and have it to the full. I am the vine. You are the branches. Anyone who remains in me and I in him bears great fruit. Good. Excellent. Fruit. God's love is always fruitful. You cannot put God's love in a jar, put a lid on it, and say, don't grow. It's impossible. With the Holy Spirit, it's contagious. It's infectious. It's like wildfire. It grows. It grows. That's the nature of love. Okay? How can we communicate and experience that in and through our bodies? Again, I'm building here. I want to be a gift to you. I freely give myself to you. I love you in good times and bad, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. This is my body given for you. Take it. And the 4th thing, you look at that person and you know in your heart and you say, this love is so beautiful, so powerful, so passionate. I want to see this love. I want to feel this love. I want to touch this love. I want it to last forever. And guess what? It can last forever in the soul of the next generation. Again, it's so beautiful, it's so powerful, it's so passionate. I want to feel it, love it, touch it. I want it to last forever. I want to give it a name. And again, guess what? By the grace of God, you might possibly be able to give your love a name in 9 months. You see, that's what you are. Do you guys realize you are not a burden? You are not a liability. You are not a mistake. You are fruit. You are beautiful fruit. You have been given a name. You are the name of your parents' love. That's the real thing. We have 3 kids, John, Julie, and Kevin. And I know when Larry and I are dead and gone, our love will live on in our children. It's eternal because their souls will last forever. That's the real thing. Counterfeits. All forms of contraception, again. Why? Because they violate the fruitfulness of love, as well as surgeries that sterilize our fertility, vasectomies for men, tubal ligations for women. Why? This is very controversial. You will face this someday, I guarantee it. If you marry, if you have 2, 3 kids, maybe even 4 kids, literally, women on the delivery table, after you've had a couple kids, your doctor's going to look at you and say, you don't want to do this again, do you? We can take care of this right now. Tie your tubes right there on the delivery table. She's shaking her head, yes, she knows it's true. I'm telling you, women, you will face this. You will face it. The doctors will pressure you to have a tubal ligation. They will pressure you to. They want to sterilize you. Men, same thing. You have 2 kids, 3 kids, and the guys at work are going to start saying, dude, don't you know where all those come from? They'll start giving you comments. They'll start making fun of you. But if you had 2, 3, 4 cars in the driveway, they'd be saying, way to go, you're doing great, you need to build a new garage. But if you have 2 or 3 or 4 children, they'll start making fun of you, and they'll say, why don't you go get fixed? We sterilize our cats and our dogs and our animals. Why? Because they can't control themselves. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we doing this to our own bodies? If you know that you're made in the image and likeness of God, your body is a gift in how it was made. If my hand were functioning perfectly normal, as it should, opening and closing, would any of us ever say, I don't think I want my hand to work. Let's go get that cut off. Let's go get that snipped. My eyes, the function of my eyes is to see. Would any of us ever say, you know what, I don't think I want my eyes. Let's go gouge those out. Take any part of your body. This is what's so important. I'm not kidding you. Take any part of your body. Your esophagus. Okay, my esophagus. The purpose of my esophagus is for food to pass from my mouth to my stomach. Would any of us ever say, you know what? I don't think I want food to pass from my mouth to my stomach. Let's go get that tied. See, we wouldn't do that to any other part of our body. We would call it self-mutilation. Why do we do this with our fertility? Because we do not understand the gift that we've been given by God as co-creators of new life. So we trash the gift. We trash it. All right, those are the 4 words. Free, faithful, total, fruitful. I want you to say them with me because I'm a former foreign language teacher. Repeat after me. Free, faithful, total, fruitful. All right, now, I'm about to speak to just the women. Guys, I need you to sit there as quiet as a mouse. You're not to move. You are not to talk. You are to literally pay attention to one word. I'm going to address the women here for a couple minutes. And then I'm going to come over and address you. And you are going to be absolutely silent and not say a word. Deal? All right. I'm serious. Listen, but don't make a move and don't say a word. Women, the biggest threats to your purity right here, right now, on any given Friday night, for good girls who want to save themselves, who want to remain pure, you want to know what the 2 biggest threats to your purity are? The first one is your environment. Where you place yourself, where you go, whether you're in some bedroom in some basement, whether you're in a dorm room by yourself with a guy, whether you're at a party with no parents. And the biggest factor in that environment is alcohol. Alcohol. Girl after girl after girl, so many of them get so drunk on a Friday night or a Saturday night that they wake up the next morning and they don't even know if they've been a victim of date rape or not. I know your parents have told you not to drink, but I'm telling you from a different perspective, the stakes are so high. The environment you place yourself in, you are either risking or promoting your future health, safety, well-being of your body. You have to be aware. You have to be smart. And do not let yourself get into a situation or go to a place that will compromise your purity. That's the first risk to your purity right now, is your environment and alcohol. The second risk to your purity right here, right now, is your modesty. Because your body speaks, and you are sending out messages loudly and clearly with how you walk, how you talk, how you dress, how you dance on that dance floor, of what kind of a guy you want to attract. And the stakes are high. And ladies, again, I'm going to just go through one little thing that will explain it to you, okay? How you dress and how the short dresses, the big high shoes, all that kind of stuff, you're sending out messages of what kind of a guy you want to attract. Ladies, if you were, I'm going to just throw this out, and it's not that I'm against all bikinis. I'm not. But I want to just ask you this question because I want you to think. What is the purpose of a bikini? And I ask this question all across the United States, and they're like, what are we supposed to say? I don't know. What are we supposed to say? Most girls will say, well, to get a tan, right? To get a good tan. And I say, okay, well, why does this part of your body right here have to be tan? Who's that for? Or right here? Why does that have to be tan? Who's that for? Because here's what I want you to think about. If you were standing in your room getting dressed in the morning, okay? And you happen to be in your bra and your underwear, and you're standing there, and a strange guy would happen to walk in and barge in on your room while you're standing there in your bra and underwear, without thinking, I'm not kidding you, in a millisecond, what would you do? Cover yourself. Ah! I'm telling you, you would. You'd go, ah! Right? Not because you're indecent. The body is good. The body is good. It's not because the body is bad that you're trying to cover it up. That's not it at all. Do you want to know why you would instinctively just do this? Because the body is so good, and you don't even have time to think about this, but this is what your brain does. You know in a millisecond that that guy that just walked in your room, you cannot trust him of how he is going to look at you and view you. You can't trust his eyes, and he might look at you as an object for his lust. So you protect the body because it is so good. You instinctively know to do it. So I ask you, if you would do that for one guy, a stranger, walking into your room, if you were dressed like that, and cover yourself up, why would you be at a public beach or at a swimming pool dressed in far less? You can't trust one stranger of how he's going to look at you because you were never meant to be looked at as an object for somebody's lust, you see? And you know it, again, in your gut, in your instinct. So you got to know how you dress, what you choose to wear, the plunging necklines, the short skirts, all of it. You're sending out messages of what kind of a guy you want to attract. You got to be smart. Think classic elegance. Protect the goodness, the dignity of who you are. It's worth it. It's worth it. All right, now you sit there and be just as good as those gentlemen have been for you, all right? Don't say a word. Guys, biggest threat to your purity right here, right now, that I am telling you, is the biggest threat to your future marriage and what kind of a husband and a father that you want to be someday. The two biggest threats for you right here, right now, are masturbation and pornography. And I'm going to talk about both of them. First one, let's just talk about the pornography, all right? You're on an internet, you're on a website, something pops up, click, you look at the image, maybe look at it, I don't know, 10 minutes, click, look at it again, click, look at another one, click, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, click, click, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, click, click. Within 1 minute, you've trained your brain to be bored with that image in 15 seconds. Is that training your eyes to be faithful to the one woman that God intended for you for life? When you're already clicking through 5, 6, 7, 8 women with a click of a mouse in a matter of 30 seconds? You see, what you do now is very indicative. How you date and whether or not you're looking at pornography is very indicative of what we can expect from you in marriage. And what kind of a man you want to be. See, because looking at pornography is addictive, and those images will be in your brain. And someday, the very night when you want to give yourself to your future bride, guess what's going to be in your brain? Those other women. And your wife, she'll know. She'll know. And there's not a woman on the face of the earth that can live up to those fake, airbrushed photos and whatever it is that they do to those videos. There's not a real woman in the world that can live up to that. It is poison for your future marriage. Poison. Again, you're meant to be faithful to one woman for life. You are training your eyes right now of whether or not you're going to be faithful to your future bride. With that, very closely connected, is the masturbation. Why? Because you have the physical stimulus, you see something, and then your body desires the release. So it's connected to it. Stimulus, release. Stimulus, release. And your body gets trained in this addiction of having to have that release every time you see the stimulus. Again, you will become enslaved to this addiction. Masturbation. Is it a freely given gift to anybody? No, there is no other person. Is it faithful for life? Again, no, there's no renewal of marriage vows. Is it a total gift of self? No, you're not giving anything to the other person. Is it fruitful? No. It is the beauty of sexual desire turned inward. And it will make you a needy child. No different than the alcoholic who can't wait for his next drink, or the drug addict who cannot wait for his next high. You will become enslaved to the masturbation and to the pornography. It turns you into a needy, never enough sexual addict. But it starts now. The average age of boys looking at pornography is 11. And those images get fixed in the brain. And that is why so many marriages, good marriages, Catholic marriages, are struggling. They're struggling. Because that woman knows, with a guy that's addicted to masturbation or pornography, she's not even needed. All he cares about is when he's going to have, again, his next orgasm. It is poison for your future bride. It takes self-discipline, self-mastery, and self-control. Yes, it does. But that's what a real man is, one who has self-discipline, self-mastery, and self-control. What I want to say to you, if you've been addicted, probably most of you have already been exposed to it, but if you are addicted to it, if you're continually looking at this, number one, seek help. And this is going to sound really crazy, but you've got to let somebody know, because they'll help you be accountable. And I mean adult. Your parents are not going to be mortified. They're going to know that it's something you're struggling with, or a priest, or a teacher. Seek help. Don't let this be a hidden, silent thing that you're trying to struggle and deal with on your own, because you can't. You can't. But the grace of God and the sacrament of reconciliation can help all of us. And that's my final thing that I want to say to all of you. You may be sitting here today, thinking to yourself, I've done things that I wish I hadn't. I've made some mistake. Maybe you're thinking, I've already been used. I've already secondhand. I've already been given to an ex. Did I always understand free, faithful, total, and fruitful love? I told you that Larry and I, yes, we were chaste before marriage, but guess what? It was after marriage where we settled for the counterfeits. You see, we patted ourselves on the back and said, we waited, we made it to marriage. We're good now, we can do whatever we want. And so we settled for the lie of contraception, and we used contraception, the pill and condoms, on and off in our marriage for 13 years. And I didn't understand free, faithful, total, and fruitful love. But it took its toll in our marriage, and I didn't even realize it. It wasn't until we discovered the theology of the body and free, faithful, total, and fruitful love that I wanted the real thing, and so did my husband. So we decided, we threw out the contraception, we both went to the sacrament of reconciliation, and we both started our marriage anew. So I'm here to tell you, at age 36, it doesn't matter. That's how old we were when we discovered this. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter mistakes that you have made. The power of the sacrament of reconciliation and God's grace is far greater than any sin, than any habit, than any addiction that you may already be experiencing. You can wrap the gift of yourself back up. And yes, you may have to say to your future spouse someday, I made a mistake when I was younger. But for the last 5 years, for the last 10 years, for the last 15 years, I have lived chastely and I have saved myself just for you. And you can shine brighter than any diamond ring on your wedding day through the power and the grace of the sacrament of reconciliation. You can start anew. Wrap yourself back up if you have fallen and if you have made a mistake. That's why Christ came into the world in the first place, to redeem us, to save us from ourselves. So I just offer that to anyone here who's ever made a mistake. And I'm the first one in line, because I too had fallen for a counterfeit. All right? But my message to all of you today, again, I just want you to know that you are a gift. You have so much to offer. You have so much potential. Ladies, someday your prince will come, and it will be worth the wait. Gentlemen, someday your bride, your princess will come, and it will be worth the wait. For those of you who are considering a vocation to the religious life or priesthood, you got to know, it too is free, faithful, total, and fruitful love, because it's real love. Freely given, gift of total self, faithful for life, and it bears great fruit, right? Spiritual fruit. So those vocations are all authentic. They're the real deal. But the best thing you can do right now for whatever God calls you to do is to live chastely and save yourself for whatever it is, whether it's marriage, whether it's the single life, whether it's a religious vocation. It's the most important thing you can do right now with the gift of yourself. So I pray that all of you will remember free, faithful, total, and fruitful. Don't ever settle for a counterfeit, because anything else is just another counterfeit. Thank you very much, and God bless you.